All right, YouTube, come on. There we go. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. YouTube always shows up last. And that's okay. That's okay, because it's slow and steady wins the race. That's what they tell you. Let's just make sure everything's coming in healthy, and then we will dance like soldiers in the battlefield once again. The internet has given us another opportunity to exist. You're really taking your time, YouTube. Really taking your time. Come on. Come on, baby. Come on. Come on. Oh. All right, we're here. Sweet. All right. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever's going on where you're at. I hope it's amazing. I hope you're living every single dream. Like if you had a dream, I hope you crushed it. I hope you crushed it. My dream is to never forget to not turn off my Wi-Fi again, because that's why we're a few minutes late today, and that's why the stream was kind of screwed up. I forgot to turn off my Wi-Fi, which is bad. If I forget to do that, the stream's on Wi-Fi. It's inevitably going to be a train wreck. I forgot. I noticed it literally at the 11th hour, and I was like, oh, crap. I need to set everything up again, and that's what happened. So, but we're here, and we're ready, and there's a lot going on. And I have a guest who is getting his news on with me today. This guy is a very funny comedian, good friend of mine. I've known him forever, it seems like. Please welcome back, friend of the show, Krish Moen. What's up, Krish?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, dude, anytime. So, Krish, here's today is a type of day where there is bad news and good news, like most days. Now, I'll give you the bad news first. Well, the good news is there is some good news. I'm holding on to it, but I got some good news for you, buddy. I got a little bit of good news for you, actually.
Excellent.
And it's going to happen. Now, the bad news is, ready for this? We kind of live in an authoritarian regime. Okay?
What?
Yeah, sorry. I know. And you became a citizen recently.
Oh man.
Sorry.
I was looking forward to all this freedom that I've heard so much about, and now
it's a little bit of the fascist variety, especially with things that are going on. And here in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles area that I call home, they decided to run over a protester. That happened yesterday, and we're going to take a look at that. Shout out to my friends over at the Convo Couch who were on the ground covering that and got some pretty disturbing footage. So there was a Black Lives Matter protest because of what happened in Minneapolis with George Floyd, which let's take a moment of silence for all those shampoo bottles at Target, those innocent shampoo bottles that were being taken out of the store. Hashtag shampoo lives matter. But
the shampoo bottles that went to people that needed the shampoo, probably.
It's not right. It's not right.
No.
I mean, it's just, we really gotta give some thoughts and prayers to all the targets out there and all the rear windshields of cop cars. I mean, we really gotta focus on what's important right now. That's literally how our media is behaving, by the way. It's so, like, you see the headlines, all the headlines coming out of LA from the corporate media. They're all like, oh, these protesters, they broke a windshield after a protester was run over. That one person threw a skateboard after a protester was run over. By the way, that's what actually happened.
What about the life?
No. Yeah. What about the life? The person was run over. And
it's going to be $200 to fix that windshield, you guys.
If that. I mean, it's and by the way, the protest yesterday, totally peaceful protest. They were blocking traffic because that's what a protest does. That's what it was. What's a protest is supposed to do. You're supposed to interfere in the daily activities of things. So people are like, why are people outraged? We're going to tell you why. Oh, okay. So, well, let's watch the video. This is not an easy video to watch, Krish, but we're going to watch it because, that's just how the world works. Here we go. So there's
Holy shit!
Oh my God.
Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit!
Ugh.
I mean, did Fiorella from the Convo Couch, that's who's taking this video there, by the way, did she really need to swear? I mean, was that an appropriate reaction? Couldn't she have just said, "Oh, fish sticks"?
Gee Willikers.
Gee Willikers. Gee Willikers, you ran over a protester.
Oh, man.
Shucks.
Yeah.
Good golly, let's go check on him.
What would Jesus do in this situation? And it's probably not use such naughty language.
Right?
You know?
All right. So let's keep on watching. All right, so let's fast forward. Right now, she had to set the camera down.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Oh my God! You can't. I can't show that, you guys.
I mean, people are so confused. People are so confused. And at one point in this video, Fiorella even says it herself. She's like, your instinct is to go call the police. And it's like, well, wait a second. The police caused this.
Yeah.
They did this.
Yeah. Call 911. It's like, is there a direct line to like the paramedics? You know what I mean? Like, calling the cops isn't going to help. They might run them over again. Like,
it's crazy. Now, last I heard, this guy is in the hospital. They even say so in this tweet. He was taken to the hospital, so hopefully he's okay and he's recovering. And wow, and for everyone, so we're gonna take a look from a different angle here, so people realize that this is what actually happened. Because people are trying to say like, well, they jumped on the car and this and that. Like, no, the cars were approaching, and then that car sped up when it got towards people. That's what happened. So there's no, I mean, if you watch it, it's like, yes, this person, the person driving the car, they knew what they were doing and they were using that car as a weapon. They weren't as deliberate as I'm just going to floor it and run over these people. They weren't going to be that deliberate, but it's like they were approaching people. They sped up. They knew what they were doing. They didn't have to drive through the crowd of people. They didn't have to do that. And we're going to show you how that's the case via images taken from people who were there. And by the way, another disclaimer, these are the angles and the perspectives the corporate media will not show you. And again, shout out to Johnny and Fee and Pasta and everyone else who was on the ground there yesterday, so that we have this perspective of what really went on.
They kicked ass.
They did. All right, so now here's the perspective. The California Highway Patrol, here, I'll pause the video so we can watch it with sound on. The California Highway Patrol accelerated while a protester was on the vehicle. So here they are. They're approaching, see? Now look at everyone else approaching from other angles.
Holy shit.
So they sped up while they approached people. You see it from that angle there where they speed up when they approach people. Now, there's something else that I want to share here. Pasta, sorry, Krish. Pasta from the Convo Couch, he got an angle where it shows you, and I meant to grab that tweet, but I think I didn't have it in my queue. So let me try to find it real quick. He showed you the photos where it's like, okay, this is how, okay, so it's his pinned tweet, which was really nice of him. He must have known I was going to try to do this. Looking out, it's his pinned tweet. All right, so check this out. So check out these pictures, which you can see it right here. Like, it's very obvious. So there are a bunch of people. There's some people. There's the car. There's other room for them to go around or slowly approach. And so here's what Pasta says. Had this CHP, California Highway Patrol, is what that means. Every time I would see that, I'd be like, what the hell's Chip? Had he stopped his vehicle right there, which he could have, no one would have gotten hurt. Other vehicles stopped. Other vehicles didn't go through things. Other vehicles went around. But this person wanted to drive through the protest. They wanted to drive through, so they started driving through, and they slowly accelerated. If they just would have floored it and ran over people like it was a sport, that might have gotten a little harsher of a reaction. But if they make it look a little subtle, so that this was
Ron,
intentional.
You know, to be fair, those signs have a lot of glitter on them, and
glitter is dangerous.
It gets everywhere.
Glitter is it gets everywhere, and sometimes it takes up to like 2 showers, 3 before you get all the glitter off.
Yeah, that's a lot. Water's expensive.
Water's expensive.
You can't just be using tax dollars for showers.
Scrubbing it off all willy-nilly. That's I mean, geesh, man, I am having flashbacks to my prom night where getting that glitter off was just something. I think maybe it wasn't prom, but there was some dance I went to where there was like glitter on my date's dress, and I had like traces of glitter on me for like a month.
I've been through like middle school dances where it's just everything gets glitter on it, and that's scary stuff. So, you know, when you got to get away from glitter, you got to do it fast.
I like how you found a way to humbly brag that you were dancing with girls in middle school. We all know that's what you were really trying to do. You wanted a humble way to slide it in there. Like, you know, in middle school, girls wanted to dance with me. Just so you know, I've always been a stud.
I got to show people I'm cool. You know, I'm with it. I know what the kids are into.
So here, there's something else I wanted to share. Another tweet I wanted to share from all this. Because keep in mind, there was somebody who was killed by police in North Hollywood yesterday. There was and Josh Androsky, another friend of the show, points this out. This is attempted murder by the Highway Patrol, which is what it was. Again, we showed you the photos. We showed you those two. Why this Highway Patrol car deliberately went into the protesters. They didn't have to do any of that. It's not like their innocent car was cornered by all these people who were on top of it and refused. That's not what happened.
None of them are armed either. None of
they're all protesters. Yeah, right.
Protesters are armed. It
was a totally peaceful protest.
Yeah.
The only and if you can even call it an act of aggression, I don't think it's fair to even call it an act of aggression because, someone threw a skateboard into a windshield. It was after someone was run over. Somebody was run over.
It's these there it is. Yeah. And it's these things where they're like, oh man, they threw what is that in reaction to? It's always, if you look at the pattern of how all these things escalate, the cops or any sort of point of authority are the ones that instigate the violence first, right? Like this is an act of violence. You did not have to drive through any of those people, but you did. And then what does the media focus on is, oh boy, somebody threw a skateboard in the back of a cop car, but never address the initial point of violence to begin with.
Look at the headline right here in this video that Josh is sharing. It's like, oh, it turns violent. Black Lives Matter protest turns violent. Like, no, a Highway Patrol car ran somebody over.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't fail to mention that the Black Lives Matter protest was a peaceful protest that was met with violent actions from the police. And it's the same thing in Minneapolis, is they're all peaceful protesters, and then the police start lobbing an endless supply of rubber bullets and tear gas. And, you know, what do these people expect these protesters to do? Is just kind of sit back and be like, guys, let them keep firing. They have a lot of feelings they have to express, and rubber bullets are the only way they can do it. Like, it's such a
when are we gonna listen to what the cops have to say? When are we gonna how many innocent people do they have to kill before we finally start just hearing them out?
Yeah.
How many innocent unarmed people do they have to kill without any repercussions whatsoever?
Duke, if we hug the police, will they stop killing minorities? Do you think if we all just collectively hug these macho militaristic police,
I think we need to, and yeah, to put a period on Josh's tweet here, he points out this is the same day the LAPD shot a man dead in North Hollywood. Now, allegedly, that guy was wielding a sword or something like that. You can find other footage where there was a guy wielding an axe. Police were able to apprehend the guy and not shoot him to death. But apparently in North Hollywood, that wasn't the case. They had to shoot this guy to death. And again, that's allegedly. We're still waiting for more to unfold there. But yeah, this is beyond ridiculous. And it's the point where it's like, we can't, whenever somebody says like, well, just a couple bad apples, it's like, just stop talking. Just stop talking. That argument, it makes zero sense. It never did. I mean, that's the equivalent of saying, hey, there's an E. coli outbreak and it affected all of our lettuce supply. And then someone takes out a shred of lettuce that goes, well, this one's fine. This one's not infected. It's just some bad shreds. It's just like, no. It's a systemic problem.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with law enforcement. It's a systemic problem. I don't care that you have a neighbor who's been a cop for 30 years in Podunksville, wherever, and has never hurt anybody and is a nice guy at the community picnics. That's not the point. We're talking about a systemic problem, and a systemic problem needs a systemic solution. The systemic solution being this job is absolutely ridiculous. It's insane that it even exists. It's insane that it's like, okay, so you're expected to do all these things. You're expected to be able to de-escalate a situation where maybe a person is armed, maybe they're not, and they're, maybe in some cases they're severely mentally ill or whatever it may be. You're expected to know how to handle that, but you're able to use deadly force whenever you want with no repercussions. And in many cases, you weren't screened properly. We have open members of the KKK who get badges and guns. It happens all the time.
Open members of the military that haven't gone through any sort of PTSD treatment.
Right. Haven't gone through anything, likely have serious PTSD. And
none of the training is about de-escalation either. All their training is about how to aggressively deal with these situations, which not all situations need that level of aggression. But when you're trained to be a hammer, every problem is a nail.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
And there is no reform within the police system. And
No.
like you said, you might know your neighbor is a cop who's very nice at all the picnics, but very likely if this person is a good cop that does their job, that's engaged in the neighborhood, they will be fired within 2 years, or they'll leave the force, which is kind of what happens to these good cops, right? Is they get pushed out of the force or they get bullied out of the force because they aren't gonna put their knee on somebody's neck for 4.5 minutes,
because it's a systemic disease. I mean, I had a guy who told me that. Man, this happened years ago, actually in Pittsburgh, where I was having a conversation with this guy who used to be a cop, and he was like, I mean, I could tell he was a genuinely good dude, and he's like, dude, you might not even believe me, but I really did. I wanted to be a police officer because I genuinely did want to serve and protect.
Right.
And I was like, I do believe you. And I'm like, look, man, I don't deny the existence of people like you, like people with genuine intentions. I just think that there's a systemic problem going on. And I feel like people like you are in the minority, like I feel like people like you, like maybe you're 1 in every 4 cops. And his response to me was, and this was years ago, his response to me was, you're being way too generous. He's like, I'm much more of a smaller percentage than that, believe me, because I had to walk away from all this. And he's like, and I have stories that could make your, I have stories that can make your skin crawl. Like, he's like, I just do. And, we didn't go into like any significant stories because he's like, dude, I just can't right now. I'm not, like, I'm just trying to have a good time. And I'm like, I get it. But yeah, I mean, he basically told me like, it's like all the things that we talk about when it comes to issues like this. Like, it's a systemic problem, and it's not gonna, and of course I want to see, I'm glad all these cops were fired in Minnesota. They should be in jail for murder because they murdered someone, which that's another interesting thing here. The verbiage that you see the media using all the time when it comes to these issues, looters,
right,
and violent rioters. You see that being used. You know what you don't see being used? Murder. You don't see that word being used in the past couple days when it comes to what happened in Minnesota. You don't see murder being used, and you don't hear police brutality being uttered Isn't that interesting?
No,
You don't hear either of those.
No.
It was a murder. They murdered this man. They murdered him
on camera.
On camera.
Like,
but and some of them watched it.
Yeah, one of them stood guard.
They stood guard.
His buddy was doing that, and I was like, how do you get away with that? And had I not researched this, like I wouldn't, I would be far more like this is. I just would be so confused. But there's a reason why cops like this don't go up against cops like this, and it's because there's been one police strike in the history of America, which was in 1919, and the striking police got completely fucked over by the Boston mayor, the Massachusetts governor, and the president all ganged up on them. It was like pandemonium. And basically, again, much like any strike, the cops in 1919 in Boston were basically asking to be treated like people. They wanted better hours and better pay, and to be and like a better sleep area, right? Because they all had to kind of share quarters, so they just wanted like a cleaner facility for it. They wouldn't recognize the union. They pushed back. So when most of the police force didn't show up to work, they called the National Guard. They armed Harvard students and turned them into a militia, which then turned into what we saw in Minneapolis. It turned into a riot because people were like, "Oh, we don't have to listen to these kids." And then so the end result is the cops didn't win, but there was an unemployment problem with veterans, right? Like veterans that came out of World War I didn't have a job, so they gave the veterans the cops jobs. They fired all the striking police officers. They gave the veterans the cops jobs, and then they gave the veterans the pay raise that the cops were asking for, and the better conditions that the cops.
And some of these veterans, likely had severe PTSD.
Yep.
Likely, weren't equipped to handle certain, and so the system began.
Yep.
Wow.
And we've never seen another police strike again because it was a lesson from those on high, which is don't question us.
And they turned the working classes against each other.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To try to get what they wanted.
Yep.
Wow. It's almost like it's a system in place, Chris.
it's almost and that's why it's like you see that that the one officer standing guard for the other one to commit murder. It's like it's wild. It's like it goes all the way back to the early part of the 1900s where we saw all this, right? They're not the police force is not designed to protect and serve like anybody. It's supposed to it's put into place specifically to protect and serve like these rich oligarchs is basically what it is. And that's another thing you won't see, right? Is like the media will not talk about how there is this problem where there are more cops put into place to protect inanimate objects than people in the community.
Yeah.
No response from the media about that.
Well, because the media plays the violin for those inanimate objects.
Yeah.
They'll talk about the poor targets, the poor windshields, the poor, there was even a headline out of LA where it's like, again, after a protester was run down and we just saw all those ankles.
Yeah.
I don't see how you can actually see the whole thing play out and say it's anything but, like even still, there were headlines like they broke a windshield. They broke a windshield.
This is the same thing.
You mean because someone was run over?
Yeah.
Because they ran over somebody? Someone threw a skateboard because someone got run over?
It's the same people that bitch about the Target stuff, right? And it's like, oh, you shouldn't do that to Target, but have said nothing when Target is making their own employees stitch their masks or give them barely any hazard pay, cut hours, and then make people work overtime and then yell at them for working. Like they treat their employees like garbage.
Well, we're realizing just how ridiculous and brutal our entire system. Well, we knew this, but now we're really seeing it head on because McDonald's is being brutal beyond comprehension. Target, Instacart, Amazon, all of them. But you know what else we're realizing? We're realizing who the essential workers are. We're even calling it essential workers. And it's not the fat cats at Wall Street. It's the people who are keeping the grocery stores open so people can get food. People who are keeping the pharmacies open so people can still get their medicine. Those are the essential workers. And dude, our only way out of this thing's a general strike.
I agree.
It's the only way. And that's hard to do because we have a system that's set up so that a lot of people and the people who are on the front lines right now, a lot of them are in situations where they're like, well, I'm a paycheck or two away from going under. And I can't strike. It's man.
Well, so I mean, the kind of the hopeful ray of light for that is things like mutual aids. You know, like I just had Eleanor Goldfield on my podcast, and she was talking. She's very involved in the mutual aid community in Washington D.C., but there's mutual aid communities everywhere where it's just regular people like you and me helping out other regular people like you and me. So if you know, like let's say you're having struggle with rent, but there's somebody 2 blocks from you that not only got to keep their job, is telecommuting, but got a raise. This mutual aid community can go, hey, can you talk to Ron because I think there's some issues, and they would go, yeah, of course, and they would help you with rent or groceries or whatever you. It's just the mutual aid community, and that is a big revolution that can just help people. And working in tandem with strikes can alleviate the stress of that, right? But to me, I think we get closer to a general strike the more we see like healthcare workers start striking against these big hospitals that, like there was a story that came out earlier this month about University of Washington cafeteria workers striking because they weren't getting the proper protections. And even when
and how horrifying is it that the people who are making food aren't given proper protections?
Right.
You know, not only is that insanely dangerous for them, it's insanely dangerous for everyone else too. And especially, it's like, where are they making food at? Of all a hospital,
right?
Like a hospital, like a hospital. So it's like the doctors and nurses who, guess what? We need them. We need them big time. Like they're not getting. I mean, it's just this is unbelievable. We are a capitalism death cult.
Yeah, it really is. It's you know, like you keep hearing all these people that are like, but the markets need to open. It's like, but maybe the markets
sound insane. I mean, yeah, like you watch these CNBC thing, which I see these segments.
Oh my god!
Like, and the only reason I see these segments is because, like, you know, Jimmy sends them to me because he wants me to write jokes for him. But it's like they're so insane. Where it's like, dude,
yeah.
The market.
We got to get those markets back. It's just like, oh my God, relax.
Like in the name of the free market and the gun and the holy capitalism, amen.
Yeah. Like it's so crazy. But it is like that is the religion in this country, right? Like the religion isn't Christianity. The religion is capitalism.
See, what does Glenn Beck and his friends think about that? You know, I mean, like we got to start. We got to start like telling everybody on the far right, like, hey, you want to say this is a Christian nation? We got some bad news for you.
Yeah,
there's actually a new God people are subscribing to, and it's not your guy. So
it's the president of the Fed.
What do you think? You should be angry at capitalism because he's taken some. He's taken some of the spotlight away from Jesus. It's like instead of a crucifix, they're seeing like a stock market chart. That's the new crucifix.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
That's the hypocrisy of all of it too. It's just like these good Christians that are listening to people that are like, the economy needs to be open, and it's just like, wait a minute. If you read your book, when was the only time that Jesus like got super pissed and started beating the shit out of people?
He was mad at the bankers because they needed to reopen the economy.
Yeah, they had to.
The bankers were like, "There's a disease," and Jesus was like, "I don't give a shit. I heal lepers. Open the economy." Boom. Isn't that's what happened? I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe he was mad about something else. I don't know.
It's like I like how they just kind of walk over that whole thing where it's just like, oh yeah, remember when Jesus beat the shit out of bankers for like defrauding regular working class people? And they're like, yeah, but you're misinterpreting that. Am I? like the part of the book where it's just like, and Jesus showed up and he punched a banker in the face. Like,
you know, man, I have a lot of mixed feelings about that whole thing because it's like, I've read the Bible cover to cover.
Yeah.
Because, you know, YOLO. And I do, like, there are some parts, there are those moments where you're just like, everyone who worships this guy, did you read about what he actually says here? Like, did you see all this? But then the other side of it too, though, if you really read in between the lines, there's a lot of that book where the big theme is, hey, poor people, don't act out of line or you won't go to heaven. So it's like, I mean, I feel like, and you know, I guess technically I'd be considered an agnostic, depending on how you define your terms. I think in some ways I'm an atheist because some people, they're like, well, an atheist just means you don't acknowledge a theist, like hence atheist. So if you don't have a theist in your life, you're an atheist, which by that definition, I am an atheist. I don't acknowledge any God. So, you know, I'm technically an atheist. But if your definition of atheist is, well, I know there's nothing out there. Well, I don't say that. I don't know one way or another. I don't think there is. And I believe there isn't. And I take comfort in that belief. You know, like some people, they take comfort in believing in a God. And I respect that. I take comfort in the belief that there isn't one. I look around and I see how 2/3 of the world is starving to death. I see how, you know, humanity is going, and I take comfort in the belief that there's not some invisible man in the sky going, well, I created all this, but I also created all this pain because if you don't believe in me, it hurts my self-esteem. I take comfort in the belief that that guy doesn't exist.
Yeah, I do too. I've been like the one thing that like my mom likes to talk about is religion and Hinduism and stuff.
Oh, you do it with your parents? Why would you do that?
Well, it's the only time I could actually have a conversation with them. But
see, my family's Catholic, and we just don't go there anymore. I mean, we're just let's just not.
Well, I only do it with my mom.
Right.
But there's stories, right? And it's funny is like she'll tell me the story. And then I'll be like, so the moral of the story is basically like the king is bullshit. And she's like, well, and I was like, okay, all right. You know, like she just doesn't want to come into that lane. But that's the thing is like what we're seeing where it's like, oh, the people have the power. The people make the determination. All of this stuff is like, that's in religion. It's just the people that write the book reinterpret it differently. Like you said with the Bible, is there's a lot of things that say like, oh yeah, if you don't, Hinduism has the same thing. It's like, if you don't listen to this God and fall in line, then bad things will happen to you. But then there's a whole nother story, which the whole point of it is to choose your own path, right? To like make decisions for yourself. Like Hinduism as a philosophy teaches you to be independent, but also serve your community. So there are these conflicting messages, and it's like, it just depends on who is reading them and who's writing them. There's so many hypocrisies within religion. And when you point it out, like whenever I point that out to my mom, is like, that's when the conversation ends, right? It's like, you can't, it's like that's whenever she's like, I gotta go cook some shit. And I was like, yep, all right, I'm gonna go watch Star Trek then.
Like you do.
Yeah.
Like you do. All right, so let's move on to a happier topic. Authoritarian surveillance. I mean, this is we gotta. So, Chris, have you followed the amendment, the privacy amendment, and everything that's been going on there?
A little bit.
Because I have a lot of anger about this because I've been covering this a lot. So there was a privacy amendment in the Senate bill, because they're about to reauthorize the Patriot Act, because why not? It's a great piece of legislation. Nobody read it. But
only ruined my life for a decade, Ron. It's totally
no kidding, right? As an immigrant, I'd imagine it was no friend to you.
It's a solid piece of. It really put me in my place. You know, I was getting mouthy as a 14-year-old, and I really needed the fucking Patriot Act to tell me where I stood.
I can only imagine as an immigrant how shitty that act. I mean, it's horrible to everybody, but I mean, especially to like you as an immigrant, it's unreal. And so they're reauthorizing that because why not? Why not? And So what happened was the privacy amendment, which was a good thing. That amendment was good. It gave to get our internet browsing history, they would need a warrant. And that failed the Senate by one vote. It almost went through. It failed by one vote. And there were a lot of senators who likely would have voted the right way who weren't there that day. One of them being Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, okay.
We don't know why he wasn't there. If there's an explanation, I still haven't found it. But Bernie wasn't there that day. Not cool. And so it failed by one vote. Now, what happened was it went back to the House. Now, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who we can usually count on to do the right thing, she's spectacular. She has the ability to, she can just tack the amendment back on, and then it could pass the House. Then it could go to the Senate, where, hopefully they would do the right thing this time. So there was a lot of public pressure on her to do that. I even called the office. I bribed them with ice cream. In my voicemail, I was like, look, I got Nancy Pelosi's favorite ice cream flavor, Tears of the Poor People. I'm ready. I'm going to mail it her way. Just do the right thing. We disagree on most things, but just do the right thing here. And she didn't.
Oh, no. What?
No.
I'm so surprised.
So she was about to do it. And then what ended up happening was Adam Schiff, the guy who, when the cameras are on, talks about how Trump is this huge public enemy #1, and he's a foreign asset, and he's this and he's that. Adam Schiff, he plays this. He's a resistance hero, rah. Except when it comes to expanding Trump's spying powers, or fast tracking his judges, or basically doing anything policy wise to oppose Trump, then Adam Schiff is hook, line, and sinker with everything. Adam Schiff he expanded Trump's spying powers multiple times, and he's doing so again here. Adam Schiff put in a loophole that weakened that amendment. Why? Because Adam Schiff is a failed show business person. He's a failed actor turned politician who became a lackey for the CIA in the FBI. He doesn't care. He wants to be in their club. He has a James Bond fantasy. So he's never seen a war that he doesn't like. He's never seen an authoritarian surveillance measure that he didn't like. And this is no different. It doesn't matter that Trump's in the White House, because guess what? He doesn't actually oppose Trump. He's the snake stung. He's a grifter's grifter. And this guy, so this guy weakened the amendment to the point where no one was supporting it. So Nancy Pelosi realized she didn't have the support in the House to get the reauthorization of the Patriot Act through and the FISA ordinance through. So they canceled the vote. Whoa, sounds like we actually won one. Hold that thought, Krish.
Uh-oh.
Not so fast. We haven't won yet. I mean, it's a good thing if they just totally stamped out the whole reauthorization, because the Patriot Act sucks a bunch.
Yeah, wasn't there something called like the sunset provision that was put into place to specifically end it that they keep ignoring, or they keep pushing it back or something along those lines?
There was something about that. I don't know all the details off the top of my head, but yes, there is something like that out there that would have just ended it, that they've still just keep pushing down the road. But so here's what's happening. So she realized the House just doesn't have support for this act at all. Like, people were upset that the privacy amendment was gutted. They were upset that it didn't pass the Senate. Then it was gutted in the House by Adam Schiff. People are, there's public outcry over this. Digital rights organizations like Fight for the Future, like Free Press, they're all leading the fight here. So Nancy Pelosi realized, okay, this whole reauthorization likely won't get through the House. There's too many people paying attention. Yeah. Too many elected officials are going to have to not stand by this thing. I'm canceling the vote. So that's what she did yesterday night, as of the recording of this now, she canceled the vote. Here's what she's trying to do, and this is breaking. So here's what Fight for the Future. Here's how they sum this up. Late last night, we defeated an attempt by Speaker Pelosi to ram through a reauthorization of FISA and the Patriot Act surveillance authorities. So now she's trying to use a conference committee in an end run around by her own party. What? So basically, by moving this to conference, Nancy Pelosi is explicitly threatening to weaken the bill even further. So to be clear, House Democrats are threatening to blow up protections specifically for journalists and religious minorities. This is an absolute disgrace. Fight for the Future goes on to say, we know that the Patriot Act and FISA Surveillance programs have been repeatedly abused to target immigrant communities, journalists, activists, and religious groups. But Speaker Pelosi and Adam Schiff want to reauthorize them so bad that they don't care. Here's the deal. We can stop this. The House will have to vote on a procedural motion to allow her to move this to conference committee with the version the House passed in March, which had no added protections at all. So you can still go to saveinternetprivacy.org to do something about this. And again, that's saveinternetprivacy.org. Tell them to stop, to not allow it to go to committee, to vote to against allowing it to go to committee. But it's amazing how much this fight has morphed. First, we wanted that privacy amendment back. They gutted that. Then they didn't have the support for the amendment, so they just, for the reauthorization in general, so they just squashed that vote. So it's like, well, it sounds like this is a victory, a small victory for a change. Then they're like, well, we're just going to do it in conference committee. Imagine, Krish, if Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats and the Republicans too, I mean, this is it's a bipartisan world, which means that the right wing has a horrible idea and everyone else is going to help them sell it. Imagine if they worked this hard for relief to people as they did to take away our civil liberties in the Patriot Act. I mean, it's amazing. And when you see stuff like this happen, you realize, no, Nancy Pelosi is not a bad legislator as far as her knowledge. She knows how to get what she wants. It's not like, oh, she's just so weak. It's that, no, she's bad politically, so she only puts the work in when it comes to screwing over the people and helping out our donors. So like this whole, I mean, this completely, people who are like, well, the Democrats are just so weak. And it's, I mean, in many ways, yes, that's true. But also it's like they know when to be strong. They're strategic. They'll be weak when it comes to standing up to horrible right-wing policy. They'll be weak then. But when it comes to helping out the Patriot Act and screwing over the people, then all of a sudden they know every trick in the book to get what they want. So this is beyond just, oh, the Republicans are so mean and the Democrats are so timid and that's why our government's not better. Like, no. This is both sides screw you. One side is more subtle about it than the other.
Yeah, it's funny is she made an excuse about Pramila Jayapal's bill, the paycheck guarantee, which is basically UBI. Like that was essentially what it was.
Yeah, and it mirrors what most other countries are doing. I mean, it mirrors England, they're doing 80% of everyone's wages right now. And they're pretty much just putting things on hold for businesses so everyone can kind of come back, which by the way, we don't do that here. When we say we're helping out small business, it's not actually helping small business. It's helping small business, which means, hey, big corporations, we got some cash for you. Come get it. And that's what all these PPP things, that's what all of it has been.
But that's the thing is she doesn't, what was the excuse she gave Pramila Jayapal, which was, oh, well, if we do this, well, the Republicans are going to knock it down. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm doing this because the Republicans are
the Republicans are meanies. And strategically, again, she's totally tone deaf. But this is she's playing dumb.
Right.
She's playing dumb. Name me one time Mitch McConnell has said, I wonder what the Democrats will think of this.
Right.
I want to do something terrible, but the Democrats might get mad. He doesn't do that. He's steadfast. He's strong-nosed. He doesn't care. Why? Because he's serving the elite and he doesn't have to be subtle about it. Nancy Pelosi has to be a little more subtle about it, but she knows what she's doing.
Right. I mean, it's this weird 4D chess that the Democrats play, which is part of the reason why I've never called myself a Democrat. It just like when I was younger, it was like, oh, this party seems to be less shitty. Like that's essentially where it was. But now it's just like that's what they're doing. They're playing this weird 4D chess, gaslighting you on a bunch of these issues where they know how to fight for bills. They know how to fight for things to get passed. So her argument for saying, oh, we can't pass this paycheck guarantee thing because the Republicans might get mad. Well, wait a minute, but you are fighting super hard and you're pulling in committees and all of these other loopholes to keep this privacy bill going.
Yeah.
to reauthorize the Patriot Act.
Selective fighting.
Fucking,
very selective fighting.
Yeah. Like you are gung-ho, you know, but when it comes to actually helping out the American people, it's like, oh, well, we'll throw you another 1,200 and maybe that'll work.
Maybe. Is that I don't even think that's happening at this point.
That was, I think,
right
that was
now,
in the early part of the Heroes, whatever the Heroes Act ended up being is.
Yeah, like, and I heard it's not like it's probably not gonna. I don't know.
Probably not. Yeah,
I heard it
wasn't. See, I haven't heard anything new about it, but the last time I checked, it was like, yeah, that one-time payment, we'll do that again. You know, that thing that didn't work before, let's just do it again, which is like, yeah, okay, kind of like trickle down. You're going to just keep pitching that over and over again.
Well, it's like that Paul Ryan meme. They're just like, hey, we gave this a bunch of money and it didn't work. We have to give it more money. But that's literally what they're doing. You know, it was originally a meme to make fun of Paul Ryan, but it's like, no, that's what our government has been doing this entire time. Hey, the PPP thing was a disaster. We need to give it more money. We need to give more to the banks and nothing to people. It's going to work the fifth time, we swear. And it's like, no, you know it's not going to work. This was really just a huge wealth transfer where people are getting richer. I mean, what do you call a country that is on its way to getting its first trillionaire? Well, simultaneously, people are lined up for food like the Great Depression. That's a failed state. That is a failed state. That's definitionally what that is.
Yeah, this is the end of the empire. And I mean, and then look, and then that's the other thing, right? Is like, this is an attempt to try to squash any sort of real resistance in coming in and trying to look through your browsing data without any sort of warrants. Is like, why would you need to do that? And every person that anytime you make a privacy argument, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then it's not a big deal, right? It's like, it's not a big, and it's just like, yes, it is. It's unconstitutional. That's
why do you want authoritarians to determine whether or not you're doing anything wrong?
That's the other thing.
You know, I mean, it's just like, well, why do you want someone else to? Yeah, it's well, saveinternetprivacy.org and let your representatives know this is happening right now. Tell them not to let it go to a conference committee.
Yeah,
it's so shady they can even operate this way. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's just so like the ridiculousness that our government can go to when it comes to screwing over people.
Yeah, and you know, the thing that this is kind of what makes me kind of depressed about like electoral politics too is watching this sort of stuff happen, and then on the other side have a bunch of people like friends that I know that are very intelligent that are against things like the Patriot Act that will make excuses for people like Nancy Pelosi. You know?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's amazing the mental gymnastics people do because they really want to entertain this fantasy that there's good guys, quote unquote, in government. And it's like, the reality is, it's like, yeah, I do think there are some people in electoral politics that genuinely want to do the right thing. They are very, very few and far between. And much like what we talked about with police and law enforcement, a lot of times they get weeded out. They get redistricted. They get booted out, or the establishment does everything they can to get an opponent against them. I mean, that's usually what happens if you go into electoral politics with genuine intentions. So yeah, it's not like everyone's a bad guy. There are some diamonds in the rough, but they're very, very few and far between. And systemically, corruption is rewarded.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard are like perfect examples of that, right? Is like everybody believed that they were these shining examples of people against corruption, and look what happened. Bernie didn't even show up to vote for this thing. And hasn't given any explanation for it. And, and it was the same thing with Tulsi Gabbard. Is you look at Tulsi Gabbard and her endorsement of Joe Biden, who literally stands for everything against what Tulsi Gabbard stands for. And I even saw her interview on Jimmy Dore, like hoping that, because she has a rapport with Jimmy, that there would be something. And there wasn't. And it wasn't like on Jimmy's part. Jimmy was asking the questions. She just gave weird politicians answers. Like these runaround answers. Like, it was really difficult to watch. And like you said, is they get absorbed back into the fold. All these diamonds in the rough is like, they don't last. People that have these uncorrupt, like really passionate, but they're fighting for people. They get absorbed into the fold because they run under the banner of being a fucking Democrat, which makes them, I don't know, like it's supposed to be that they're good guys. It's ridiculous.
I'm hoping General Strike doesn't let me down. I mean, I'm hoping my General Strike endorsement doesn't leave me hanging.
Me too. I second that endorsement.
I feel like we can stand for General Strike.
Yeah.
I feel like General Strike is going to have our back and isn't going to bend the knee to the establishment. General Strike is General Strike is
uncompromising.
Very much so. And my Rent Strike is my VP pick. I'm General Strike, Rent Strike 2020.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
You know what's so funny? I wish it sucks that touring isn't possible right now, because I was just thinking how amazing it would be to just go from show to show. And even if it's just a general audience, and say, so who's excited for the election? And then film nobody clapping. like just because even a general audience, like no one's excited for this. Just be like, who's stoked for the election? And then just watch people like,
what?
Why are you? What are you excited about? Break down your enthusiasm and where it comes from. Like, I mean, it's just, I mean, they could not sell 2020 as a TV show. People would say it's too unbelievable. They'd be like, come on, there's no way. This reality TV guy who somehow got in the first time, there's a pandemic. He has no clue what the hell's going on. The only person who can stand up to him is this demented old guy who probably has dementia and probably raped somebody. No, we're not buying this. No, that would never happen in the real world.
And
come on.
And the face of the resistance.
This other guy had a movement behind him for years, and they screwed him over twice. Come on.
And then he just kind of went with it.
Political parties want to win, don't they? Nobody did anything about this. He endorsed that dude, and so did everybody else. Come on. We're not buying this TV series.
No one's going to believe that this is real.
Krish, I promised you good news, and I'm a man of my word. You live in Pennsylvania.
I do.
So guess what, man? Pennsylvania might be getting the legal pot.
Yeah.
Some PA Republicans are open to legalizing marijuana after coronavirus blew a hole in its budget. It's inevitable, they're saying. So check that out, man. There's a gaping budget hole. That's what the article says. There is a gaping budget hole. Think of the hole. Our economy is in tatters. Think of the hole in the economy. This person was masturbating while they wrote this. I believe that.
That is a fantastic way to kick it off. I think that politics is boring, right?
Yeah, right.
Come on.
There's growing voter support and some assurance that the issue is no longer political poison, and there are tax windfalls, potentially huge revenues to be. Think about the market. Think about the market. Can you imagine masturbating to the stock market quotes? Can you imagine that? This person can. This person can. Sam Wood can. All right. So for those reasons, some Republican lawmakers in Pennsylvania are coming around, if slowly, to the idea of legalizing pot. Krish, you got to call your congressperson. You got to call your congressperson, and you got to be like, think of the gaping hole. Let us have our pot. Think of the gaping hole.
We're going to fill your hole with pot. Come on.
You got to run for mayor now. Vote for me. I'm going to fill the gaping hole with pot. What hole? The economy hole.
There's the economy gaping hole.
There's the economy gaping hole. I'm going to put pot in it, and then we can all be happy. Think of revenue.
Mohan 2020, gaping holes filled with pots.
I feel like you can't lose, man. This has got to be your thing.
I feel like, that's all it takes, right? It can't be that hard to run for mayor, right? How hard is it to run for mayor?
I don't know. I've never done it. I've never done it. I actually, I wrote in my vote for mayor. I wrote in my old roommate. Actually, I wrote in pasta from the combo couch. I wrote him in. And I was like, hey, I wrote you in for mayor. Like, I mean, I didn't want to vote for anybody on the ticket. Like it was all terrible choices. So I just wrote him in.
Yeah.
I'm going to see what this does. maybe everybody else will leave it blank because they're like, I don't know who to pick, and he'll win by one vote. Maybe that'll happen.
It'll be the one vote that the Patriot Act reauthorization needed.
Well, I hope Pennsylvania legalizes pot for a number of reasons, even if it means that they need to fill the gaping hole. I hope they fill that gaping hole. Yeah. Krish, where can people go to find you?
You can go to my website, krishmohan.com. It's KRISHMOHAN.
You changed it.
I got it redirected, and I'm working on actually getting it fully changed and everything. So it might take me like another week or two to officially have it be krishmohan.com. But that's where you can go. I'm doing virtual shows similar to what you and Graham are doing, where it's with the virtual live audience every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Nice.
And I'm releasing a brand new album on June 1st, which you can pre-order for $1 from Bandcamp, so that nobody gets priced out during this crazy pandemic situation that we're in.
Nice, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So go to krishmohan.com. He made it his name. He didn't used to do that. That's why we bring this up. He used to do something different, and I'm glad he fixed it. That was the right move. And speaking of Graham and I have a show on Saturday. We're doing another Zoom show on Saturday, so you can check out Krish's show on Friday. You can check out our show on Saturday. We're doing ticketing exclusively through Venmo. Just Venmo Graham-Elwood. It is $5. And that's how we're doing it. Make sure we have your email address so we can send you the Zoom link. And we're going to be doing a show Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. That's 10 p.m. Eastern time over on the Zoom. And that's just Venmo Graham-Elwood. And we'll be tweeting about it. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at Ron Placone, because we'll be tweeting more about that. YouTube disabled my chat again. That's a new thing.
What?
Yeah. So YouTube.
Oh,
YouTube has done this thing where they automatically disable chats. And because I had to restart the stream, they disabled my chat, and I didn't catch it. So my chat has been disabled this entire show.
Oh,
so
geez.
I'd imagine people want to say things. They can't because the chat was disabled. So to everyone watching, I'm sorry. This is the second time it's happened. This is a new thing YouTube has been doing. I need to remember to look out for it. And because I had to restart the stream because of a tech glitch where I forgot to turn off my Wi-Fi, I didn't notice this. It slipped through the cracks. So I apologize for that. And thanks, YouTube. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. It means a lot that you guys do this. It means a lot that you just screw over live streams. They said it's because they're worried there might be unwanted chats. I tweeted at them. They told me, they're like, well, we're worried there might be some unwanted chats that happen. So we just automatically disable it. Like the guy who's been streaming for 2 years has had a live chat on every show. He might just randomly not want one. So you disable it for no reason. You just, thanks, YouTube. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. Sorry, everybody. I'm sorry.
Leave regular comments.
yeah, please. It's it's a new thing now, and I'm because I had to restart the stream, I didn't look out for it the second time. The first time I said it right, and I forgot the second time because I had to restart the stream, so I was in a hurry. So apologies for that, and hopefully it won't happen again, but it might, because this is a new thing. Gotta love it. Thank you for tuning in to Get Your News On with Ron. I hope to see you Saturday on Graham and I's Zoom show. And also, I'm doing on Instagram Live, I'm going to be doing a music set. And that's at 7 p.m. So you can still do Chris's thing and mine because that's at 7 p.m. Pacific. So it doesn't interfere time-wise. Mine would be after yours because yours is on the East Coast.
Yep.
So you can check out Chris's thing. Then you can go over to Instagram Live where I'm going to be doing a music set. It's not going to be like the Zoom shows. I'm going to be playing some of my favorite songs, telling stories about them. It's just going to be a fun hang. I'm doing that Friday night. Saturday night, Graham Elwood and I have another Zoom show. We are ticketing exclusively through Venmo. Venmo Graham is just Graham-Elwood. And follow us on Twitter to get more on that. And it's just $5. And yeah, you guys are awesome. Sorry I can't see what any of you are saying. It really sucks. And ChrisMohan.com, RonPlacone.com, at RonPlacone on Twitter, at Chris Mohan, haha, on Twitter. You know the drill. In the meantime, Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.